Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Nick with EDC Mag, and today I want to talk about the Goodwyn Ferronaut. Actually, I want to talk about a couple of knives today, and the biggest reason for that is because I want to. So we've got the Ferronaut, and then the knife I want to talk about first real quick is this bad boy right here. And this is the Ridge Fighter by Tidal Ridge Knives. Now, if you haven't heard of Tidal Ridge, he makes some insanely crazy knives, some really cool designs. He makes knives. He makes leather. He makes some really amazing leather stuff. This is a very basic example of some of the stuff he can do. That's the sheath for this, obviously, but he makes some really cool leather stuff. He makes pries. He makes axes that look like something Thor from the future would carry. I mean, just some insane designs. Just, different EDC stuff. Now, this particular one is the Ridge Fighter. It's about 4.5 inches long. It is a tall knife, which is definitely, as I've mentioned, something I like. I believe this is 1095, which is phenomenal steel, especially for fixed blades. That's what Tops Knives swears by. Just a very unique, different design. It's Tidal Ridge Knives. The guy that is Tidal Ridge Knives is Jacob Huey. He's out of South Carolina. He's got the name saved as far as owning it on the web, but primarily you're going to find his stuff on Facebook. That seems to be where he pretty much shows all of his stuff. And how cool is that? He does do some Instagram stuff, some IG stuff, but primarily it's Facebook. So if you don't have Facebook, I mean, you can Google and find photos. If you want to follow him, your best bet's going to be to do a search and find him on Facebook under Tidal Ridge Knives. But he makes some just insane stuff. This knife, I just love this thing. It's so cool. And this particular knife it feels like, it fits in your hand really well. It's great for a fixed blade. It looks big, but it doesn't carry big. Although with this particular sheath, there's really only one way to carry it. However, you could always do a Kydex and carry it any way you wanted to. Someone asked me what it weighed, and I have no idea, but we can definitely find that out. Let's see here. I'm going to guess maybe 7.5 ounces. Ooh, I was way off. Almost 10 ounces. So for a 4.5 inch fixed blade, that's about right. I mean, it's pretty thick as far as the steel goes. But just a super cool design. Very different. When you see a Tidal Ridge knife, there's no question who made it. You know that it's a Jacob Huey design. His axes are just insane. I'm very excited. He just in July made his first folder prototype that was based actually quite a bit on this Ridge Fighter design, and oh my gosh. Man, it is cool. It is so cool. So I'm really excited in the future to see those folders come out. Those things are just, they're just insane. So what we'll do real quick is we'll do the old Kershaw measurement here. So we got about a 4.5 inch blade back to about where the edge stops. And then, we've got the Kershaw length 3.2 inch blade. But this blade is just so tall. I mean, it's just insanely tall. And for an aggressive fixed blade, that's about what you want. If you go much over 4.5 inches, then it gets difficult to carry unless you're out in the bush or something like that. But this one you can still carry on your belt, and if you've got your shirt untucked, no one's going to know you got it. I mean, so it's still very carryable. Now, granted, if you whip that out in public, you're going to scare the crap out of somebody, but That's their problem, right? So anyway, check it out. Tidal Ridge knives. Very cool stuff. Just insane designs. Check them out. All right, let's talk about the Ferronaut. Now this is by Chris Goodwyn Knives. He's a Texas guy. He's a firefighter and an EMT. He's out of New Mexico. And he, from what I can tell, I have never talked to this guy, and this kind of came out of left field, which is one of the things I love about this hobby is, man, I'm still finding and discovering new makers, and I wasn't familiar. Hopefully that light, man, that light on that blade, I don't know if that's going to help or not. Never really sure till I see it on video myself. But anyway, here, wait, let's try it this way. See if that makes a difference. Anyway, let's talk about the knife. It's D2 with TI anode. The barrels are anode as well. I don't know if you can see those or not. It's all blue. Caged bearings. This design was, I mean, Chris started making knives, near as I can tell. Well, he started out making like scales and stuff like that, and then kind of from scales he started making like some backspacers and stuff for like factory produced knives. And then from there he in 2013, towards the end of 2013 into 2014, he came up with his first concept. He made a couple of fixed blades, and man, he just jumped right into folders. And he made a comment on one of his old posts on Instagram about figuring out, you know, he's starting to figure out the grind. And wow, man, I mean, the guy is talented because he went from zero to hero and almost instantly. I mean, it's just crazy. His knives are just gorgeous. His grinds are gorgeous. And this scale is TI, and so this design is called the Ferronaut, although, you know, there are several different blade shapes with the Ferronaut. This typically isn't my favorite type of blade shape, but I had an opportunity to grab it, and I was like, hey, it's a new designer to me. It looks like he hasn't done a whole lot recently, and you know, I know he's a part-time maker, but ever since I've had this a couple of weeks, and I've had several people reach out to me and just say, you know, how much they love his knives and how much that he just does phenomenal work. I think this scale, when I see this, I don't know, the first thing that comes to my mind, the design here is like crop circles or something, but I notice he makes a lot of references to Star Wars, and I think he named one Death Star or something like that, and there was a couple other I checked out that were Star Wars references. So I'm not sure he comes up with his designs, but wherever it is, to me a lot of them look like UFO and crop circles and stuff. But yeah, I get it. Star Wars, Death Star, I get that totally. Just super cool though. This knife, like I said, was made about 3 years ago, and I was a little bit hesitant when it was offered to me. I was like, you know, I've tried some of these unknown makers before, and some, you know, somebody will get one of these and then they just try to dump it off, and they don't tell you all the crap that's wrong with it. And so I was like, well, I'll take a chance on it, because, you know, new designer, new maker, I never handled one, and I got this thing, and man, was I shocked. I pulled it out, and the first time I flipped it, that thing is just solid as a rock. There's no play anywhere. I mean, there's no seat play, which I've had a lot of custom knives that had seat play. There's no play on this anywhere. When it flips, man, it's just solid. I mean, the tolerances on this thing. And it's as simple as far as the design goes. You got your pivot up here. You got your blade stop. You've got two barrels back here. So to pull this thing apart, you know, you're talking about your two barrels, which, I mean, you could take this whole thing apart in a minute. And that's if you're taking your time and sipping coffee. just a beautiful knife, beautiful design. And some of his other Warncliffe, he's got some other designs that for the Ferronaut that are, man, I just absolutely love. And he's got some newer models out now that are absolutely phenomenal as well, and the grinds are just insane. And what I like about this, obviously, is the satin versus the tumbled, and then you can see the grinds on that. And I love a knife that shows the grinds, even though satin plays hell when you're trying to, in bright lights, you're trying to photograph or film it, but you get the idea. Let's see what this thing weighs. So it's a 3.75 inch blade. So a little over 6.5 ounces, which, that makes sense. That's about right. You know, 375, it falls in between the 3.5 and other guys that think, you know, 5 ounces is a bulldozer and a monster knife, and guys like me that, you know, refuse to carry anything if the blade isn't at least 4 inches long. So it's a nice in between. I've had this a couple of weeks. The only thing that I've noticed his clips are somewhat thin, and I think there's a reason for that. I mean, keep in mind, this guy goes out and fights forest fires, and he's an EMT and a firefighter, and he's out in the shit, and so his knives are designed from the view of a guy that's out in it every day. So, you know, like I said, I haven't talked to the guy, so I'm surmising a lot of things based on what little information I could get. But man, this is a solid knife, and for a guy that hasn't been doing it, you know, that long, I mean, he's not a 30-year veteran like, you know, Andre or Todd or any of those guys has been doing this forever. The guy, he's gifted. Let's just put it that way. The guy really is gifted. I've been so pleased and so surprised with this knife. The action on it is phenomenal. This one's a little bit weird for me. I mean, you know, obviously, if this thing had a thumb tab, I'd probably be sleeping with it. But one of the things I like is, or that I've noticed, is this is almost a button. So, you know, you got jumping on there, and it's a push, so you can push this thing down and deploy it, which that's not natural for me because it's not what I'm used to. But you can just, I'm not sure if you can just push. Try that again. Push that down and bam, that thing fires so good, so nice. And you can obviously pull it as well, but man, that thing just, oh, it's just beautiful, just amazing. Very impressed with this. I will definitely have more of his knives. I mean, I just can't say enough good things about it. And this is a knife from a guy that goes out and risks his life every day, and you know he wants a knife that he can count on. You know, if this thing gets full of blood and guts, you can blow that out, rinse it out, take it apart, put it back together within, you know, a minute or two. I mean, it's functional. It's beautiful, but it's also functional. And I can't say enough about this thing. So let's do a little comparison. Now, as I've said a million times, I prefer a taller blade. Obviously, this is more of a spear point, but I do love the multi-grind any way I can get it. Flat grinds are just a little too pedestrian for me, but 3.2 versus 3.75, so you know, it's not a whole lot taller than your average blade, your average knife, Kershaw or whatever you have. I'm not a Spider guy, so I'm not using those, but it is a thicker steel, if you can tell that. But I wouldn't hesitate throw this in my pocket if I thought I was going to go out and get in some big trouble. I mean, this thing is just, man, there's nothing bad about this. I mean, there's zero lock stick on this thing. Zero. Just zero. I mean, it's just, I don't know. This thing it's just a magical knife. I mean, I don't want to use the term "we" because that sounds sacrilegious, but honestly, from a fit and finish and deployment, you know, a lot of you guys by now have tried "we" knives, and you know how amazing the action is on them. Man, this is right there with it. I mean, there's no question. This thing it's the shit for sure. So there you go, the Ferronaut. This particular knife is about 3 years old. The design, I think, is from about 2013, 2014. And he's moved on to some other designs, but there's a lot of different blade shapes. This thing, you know, with D2 keeps it affordable. It's not a $1,200 knife, you know, and people can afford these. Instead of going out and spending $800 on a damn production knife, go out and do the research and watch guys like myself and 100 others that are trying these things on YouTube, and get yourself accustomed. Support a maker, somebody that's creating something with their own hands in their garage, in their shop, someone that's taking stuff from their mind and just making it a reality. I mean, that's just amazing, absolutely amazing. So if you get a chance, definitely look at Chris on, as far as I know, Instagram is the best place to find his stuff. I didn't find anything as far as like a website or anything like that, but definitely check out Chris, follow him, and if you ever get a chance to grab one, don't hesitate, because these are affordable. And man, they're solid, and they're just ergonomically. This is right about. I would like to have. I like a little more tail, but this is just right about right. I mean, everything in when you grab this knife, your hand, everything goes right where it should. I mean, it's just all right where it should be. Beautiful, just beautiful. All right, guys. Chris Goodwyn Ferronaut, Tidal Ridge Fighter. If you guys get a chance, check them out. If you come across one, I say do it. Hey, this is Nick with EDC Mag. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We're having a lot of fun. We've got a lot more stuff coming up. Until next time, have a great day.